Oh, there you go, friends. Yeah, I got to work today. Gee, I had a nice surprise. I did. Waiting for me in the dairy cooler was three pallets, three pallets of dairy products that had to be sorted, knocked off the pallets, and put onto those things we call U-boats. Yeah, you've seen them if you've gone to any supermarket, they've got them. And in other words, they had to be sorted from the pallet, put on, taken from the pallet, and put on the right U-boat, as we call them. And no, these U-boats aren't submarines. No, I don't think they'd work very well as submarines. Well, they'd go down, but I don't think they'd come back up. Let's put it that way. But they're U-shaped, and they got edges so they don't fall and hurts. The stuff doesn't fall off them. The products, the boxes and stuff, don't fall off and hurt someone. But oh my God. And I'm no spring chicken, but there's just not enough people available that time of the morning. So yeah, I started one box, then another, put them where I'm hoping they belonged, and I guess I did okay because I know I got one or two. Once I got them all knocked down and onto the rolling platforms, um, it wasn't it wasn't too long before we had them everything on the shelf. But oh, boy, that's an effort. I don't know what a pallet would weigh, but it's got to be a ton. It had to be 6 tons of product by the time you with three pallets. I'm guessing that would be the weight, but I could be off. I could be off. But ooh, wow. And you'd say, okay, this is a box of creamer, so it goes to the creamer boat. Oh, here's two boxes of yogurt. I'll put them on the yogurt boat. Orange juice. Oh yeah, okay, orange juice over here, and and like that. And it's definitely a workout. I do not have to go. I do not have to go to Vic Tanny's. I don't think so. Oh my heavens, no. It's but I will say this now. I'm not saying everyone should do this that's my age, because maybe you should be checked by a doctor first. But you have to make sure your heart, the vessels in your brain can take it, or your back, that kind of thing. Uh, but if you're in relatively good shape, honestly, I would suggest uh, light work like that. Most of the boxes were anywhere from a pound or two up to, oh, let's see, there would have been some that would have been in the 35 pound range, give or take. Yeah. And a few that might be a little heavier. Most of them, though, I'm guessing around 20 pounds a pop. And, you've got to think, it's kind of a nice mind game, too, because you got to think, okay, what the heck is this one? Cheese. Okay, it's got to go to the cheese boat. What's this? Butter. Okay, it's got to go to the butter boat. Yeah, yeah. And it's like sorting mail, uh, at the post office, but heavier. Right. These ain't no. These things didn't come in as a result of a 25-cent stamp or whatever stamps are nowadays. I guess they're more than that. But you see what I'm saying. And when you're done, honestly, I got to say, you feel pretty good about it. Because then what you got to do is count everything to make sure how many items came in, how many boxes came in, and that's kind of wild. As in my case, with the brain fog I get, I'm almost done counting, and then I miss one. Oh, geez, back to counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, okay, and like that. Sooner or later, I get it done. It almost takes me longer to count the darn things than it does to move them from pallet to U-boat to rolling platform U-boat. And then I managed to get a bunch of it on the shelf, and then it was my time to go do work in another part of the store, and that's what I did. But oi, it's it's something you want to break into gently, especially if you're in your 70s like I am. You want to really make sure your doctor says it's okay. You don't want to, because number one, it's chilly in those coolers too, and some of them very cold, like the frozen food locker. Oh my God, uh, dairy cooler I think just a degree or two above freezing. I believe that's right. Forgive me if I'm wrong, but I believe that's the case. It's right close to freezing, and I believe air's a little bit on the hot side, but enough to keep everything pretty darn cold and fresh. But oh, and yeah, and there's fans blowing on you too. Yeah, like you're in a hurricane, uh, the coldest darn hurricane you've ever been in. Yeah, yeah, it's kind of what it's like. Oh, Lord have mercy. But again, I lived, and heaven knows what I'll have to do tomorrow. I'm sure they got. I think tomorrow I got to go work in Frozen. Okay. Well, I gotta say, I tell you, I know I may have said this already in this video, but I go to the doctor, he looks me over and says, "Holy crud, you're in good shape. And how you're almost 80." Yeah. He says, and I try to act like I'm a muscle man. Yeah, of course I am. Yeah, yeah. I know from pushing carts, I I went to my cardiologist, and I've said this story before, but it's about a year ago now. He put I have heart stents, and you have to get them checked every now and then. And one thing they do is they put you on a treadmill, and they start you out slow and keep raising the angle, and they make it a little faster. And when I first had the stents, this would be almost a decade ago. They ran me on it. In fact, maybe more like 15 years ago now, could be longer. Uh, they put me on a treadmill and they start you on the uphill grade, and it was all I could do to walk up a grade like that and hang on to the bar while the treadmill's going on below me. It was all I could do. Now he puts me like that, and I get on the thing. He says, "You hanging on?" I said, "Yes, sir, I am." "Yes, doctor, sir, ma'am, what?" There's a nurse there too. And he said, "Okay, we're going. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1." And he starts running, and I'm hanging on to that thing, and I've got to walk. You can't run. You've got to walk, you know, straight legged. Like that. And he says, "Okay, let me know if you feel any pain or anything." I said, "No, I'm fine." He says, "Are you even winded?" I said, "No, sir." He says, "I don't get it. I'm going to run you up a little more. You mind?" "No, no." He says, you can break into a run if you want." "No, I'm fine, just walking." He said, "I don't believe it." He said, "Okay, that does it." Turning it off. "No, you're fine. I'm looking at the cardiogram. Look at it. Come here. You know cardiograms. You were a rescue person, right?" I said, "Yes, sir." "Yes, doctor." And he says, "Yeah, don't call me sir. I'm doctor." "Oh, yes, doctor." I look. "Yeah, those are perfectly good squiggles." He says, "Damn." He says, "What are you doing?" I said, "One word, supermarket." Or maybe two words, depending how they do the logo. He says, "God." He says, but you were in, I've been, I said, ever since I, when I first had my heart trouble, I think I was still, no, I was working in a store, but I think it was an antique shop. But no, shortly after, the stents and everything, I started working part time in a supermarket, and I don't know, it's been years now. I feel great. He says, "Doggone." "Okay." He says, "Well, He says, "You're fine." He said, I can't get your heart to show any signs of trouble at the moment. He says, "Still, I want to see you in another, say, 9 months, something like that, and we'll run you again." He says, "And if you feel anything, even the slightest twinge, you know what to do." I said, "Yes, sir. I'll call you." "Yes, doctor. I'm sorry. I'll call you right away." Which, by the way, you should do. Anything you feel in your chest that don't feel right and hurts a bit, don't mess around, because that's that could be real trouble. And having been a rescue person many years ago, I can tell you there's people that just ignore that, and a lot of times we couldn't get them to the hospital fast enough, and they didn't make it. So you want to be careful. You chest pains, shortness of breath, difficulty walking, all of a sudden, that kind of thing. Doctor, don't want to hear no guff. And don't drive yourself. Have someone drive you, for crying out loud. I think we had that happen in Wilson. Someone had heart trouble, and I think they wrapped their car around a tree, which no, they didn't make it. So you want to be careful. Definitely, best thing to do is call an ambulance, because they're at least ready for anything that might happen, especially if you have what seems to be serious pains in your chest. Don't fool around. And also, you'll sometimes hurt in your arms, your neck, that kind of thing. Don't get there. And I would do it too if all of a sudden I started feeling that kind of pain. Bye, see ya. Where's the cardiology ward? Okay, and that's smart, because your heart's pretty wild item, pretty busy organ. Talk about busy, and it's you got to treat it right. And if things aren't looking quite proper on it, well, you never know. You might have to get some stents thrown in there. Okay, or whatever the cardiologist thinks. See you later. I hope that, by the way, that doesn't happen to you. Best thing to do is eat right, exercise, and try to keep from going crazy, arguing and all that stuff. All that tension don't help you a bit. Okay. See you later. God bless. Oh, and look at my videos. Yeah. You heard me. Okay. No, look at them if you want. If you don't feel like it, you certainly don't have to. Okay? Nah, sorry. I got fair amount of listeners, and that's good. Makes my heart feel really swell. It does. I'll see you later. God bless. Bye now.